Now, usually when I'm roasting a whole chook just like this one, I would use the juices in the pan to make a gravy. But for something a little bit different, I'm going to be covering my chicken with some bacon, which gives it a wonderful flavour, and also serving it with a bread sauce. Always important when roasting a whole chicken just like this is to get it up to room temperature. By doing that, we're going to get a really even cook and it's not going to dry out. Pat it with some paper toweling. And these wing tips, I don't want them to burn, so I'm just going to tuck them under the breast. 2 sprigs of thyme. Now also a little bit of olive oil, just a small amount of oil there. You don't need too much because we're going to be adding some bacon. Use streaky bacon for this because we want long strips of it and we do want the fat there to keep it really moist. I'm just going to cut 1/3 off. We can keep that. I can either freeze it or put it in the fridge for bacon and eggs. I'll take the rind off, so just pinching it in the centre, and that's the easiest way. And we'll do that to the other one, so just pinch it in the centre and take the rind off. This is going to protect the chicken while it's cooking too and also flavour it, so it's a win-win. We'll get another piece and we want to do it across the chicken one way. You can also wrap it around the leg there. And with the other bit of bacon, when we're going the other way, you just want to weave it so it sits nicely and it doesn't fall off. We don't want the bacon to fall off while it's cooking, so tuck it in under the wings there. You may need a little bit more bacon depending on how big your pieces of streaky bacon are. Right, now that we've covered the whole chook, we need to make a little bit of a bed here for the chicken to sit on. So 2 cloves of garlic. I'm not peeling them, we're just going to cut them straight down the centre. They can go in first. I never like the chicken just to sit straight in the pan. It's always better for it to just be lifted a little bit, whether it's on veggies and onions, just like I'm doing here today, or in a rack. And then with all of this remaining time, it seems like a lot, but it's going to perfume the chicken and it's going to aid in not allowing it to sit on the bottom there. We'll also put a little bit of olive oil here because I don't want it to burn. A little bit of butter. Perfect. So that can go on there, nestle it in, and a little bit more butter on the bacon just to get the oils going as it goes into the oven. Now I've preheated my oven to 180 degrees and I'm going to bake this for about 1 hour. But this bacon's going to cook quite fast. So in order to slow that down, get some baking paper. And we're just going to place that baking paper on top. Baking paper is not only going to protect the bacon from overcooking, but it'll also help that bacon stick to the chicken skin there. So I'll take that off about half an hour before it's done. Now that the chook is in the oven roasting, we can get onto the bread sauce. I've got about 2.5 cups of milk here. And we want to bring this to the boil. I like to infuse it with the classic flavours of a bread sauce and onion, which I've cut in half. And usually with all these old recipes, they would stud the onion with cloves. But instead of that, I want to get a really good hit of the cloves amongst other spices here. Nutmeg, the clove, which is a powder, white pepper, and cinnamon. I call it a French force spice. You can make it yourself. It's just even amounts of all those spices. Now, once that has come to the boil, I'm going to turn it off completely and let it just sit there for about 20 minutes before we add in our breadcrumbs. This roast chicken looks pretty good. You can see we've got crispy bacon. It's still stuck onto the chicken there and you need to let it rest. So if that's been cooking in the oven for about 1 hour, let it sit there for about 20 to 30 minutes. It'll still stay warm. If you are worried, just put a little bit of foil around it, but don't wrap it too tight or else it will sweat. You still want to keep that crispy bacon. I think these days we throw a lot of our bread out, but it would be great to use it in a sauce just like this. Even 2 or 3 days old, it's actually even better. So we're going to start to rein it in. What we're looking for is for these breadcrumbs to swirl. So I start with a few handfuls. I'm going to turn the heat right down. And then we want to whisk it in until it's really smooth. And then we're going to add a little bit more. Now, traditionally, this is a really, really white sauce, but because I've used powdered spices, it's going to have a slight tinge to it. Now that it's come together, it's starting to smooth out, and we can start to add some butter, 15 to 20 grams. We add a little bit, and then we'll fold it in. I'll also season this with a little bit of salt, because there hasn't been any salt in this whatsoever. And one last little thing, I almost forgot it, some mustard. Not traditional, but I love the addition of it. A good tablespoon of Dijon mustard. It really takes it from just a creamy sauce to a sauce that has a little bit of piquancy there. Wonderful, let's put it in this big bowl here. This is how I would serve it, in the middle of the table. And our chook that's been resting here, we're going to just take it out of its tray. If you wanted to go all out, you could serve it with the two sauces, the bread sauce, and you could put this pan back on the heat and just reduce some of these juices here to make a little gravy. And this garlic is so sweet after it's been roasting in the oven, so I like to add it there. A big bunch of thyme for a garnish, and all it needs now is a lovely salad, maybe some roast potatoes if you like. Fantastic way to serve chicken. This bacon makes it extra savoury. I love it. Try the bread sauce. Bring back old school sauces, I love them.